Okay, we're gonna see if we can get the transmission to roll. You know, it's always something. Okay, so we are now at the point where we've started the car, which was no small task, it turned out. And now it wouldn't move. If you watched the last episode, the car would, when we put it in the gear selector, it did not budge. So we're thinking it's low on fluid, is that right?
That's exactly what's going on. When it sits for a long period of time, the seals, probably in the torque ball area, contract, and it allows it to leak a little bit.
Okay.
And over a long period of time, you can lose most, if not all, your fluid.
And this is actually just as a general thing.
Yeah, it's
seals
kind of a
dry
problem.
out in cars, period, if they're not used regularly.
Yeah, because without the liquid to keep it expanded, it shrinks. And then, of course, it doesn't seal as well.
Okay, now, next question. I'm not the most observant guy in the world, but your hand is on the door handle, not on the hood handle.
That's right.
Why is that?
Well, because I was trying to throw you a curveball. But actually, the tranny fluid is filled in the passenger compartment, which was, remember, this is one of the very first automatic transmissions. It was GM's first production automotive transmission. And so automatics were new, brand new. They didn't realize that maybe putting this under the carpet was not such a great idea. Mrs. McGillicuddy very rarely wanted to dig around underneath the carpet to put tranny fluid in it. But so it was only later that they moved the transmission filler to the engine compartment, where
Interesting.
There probably wasn't sufficient room at the time this car was made, because we're in a transitional period. So when a little bit later, you'll start seeing that the dipstick and the filler are in the engine compartment, where they should have been, which is good. But this is very early on. Transmission fell right underneath the tunnel, right underneath the dash.
Right. The car body was really designed for the manual transmission.
Right, exactly. It was not made for an automatic. This is incredibly rare to have an automatic in 1948. So it's understandable that they were still sorting that out. And of course, after a few heated conversations with customers about crawling around on the floor trying to find the opening, which is what we had to do. And even though I've done it before, I'd forgotten how to do that. And as you remember, we struggled with that. You were the one that found, based on your extensive research, that the filler was not under the hood. It was actually in the passenger compartment.
All right, well, let's see if we get it done now.
Yes, we are. We're going to get it done.
Fantastic.
We found it. We got to be really careful.
Yeah, because this is, again, the very original flooring.
Maybe one of the last surviving. And remember that also that the Woodies, or the wooden cars, had their own structures. So this was a handmade car. The only part of this car that's really Buick is from the cowl forward. So
right. I mean, even this door you're holding open is actually literally constructed of wood.
Yes,
it is not like a steel body with some wood trim bolted to it.
Not at all. That was very late in the process when the cost of these cars was astronomical at the time they were built, because of all the hand labor and all of the work it took, not to mention the expense of the northern white ash that they used to construct them. And they had to use ash. We might have talked about this before, because it weathers so well in the exterior, whereas oak or some other materials that were used more commonly in other cars were very susceptible to the weather.
Yeah, they would deteriorate.
They would deteriorate very quickly as soon as this varnish. This is actually the factory varnish that's now half a century old, and it's still there. Now, granted, it doesn't live out in the open, but pretty amazing when you consider that it's protecting it. But the white ash, the northern white ash, you have to be careful to qualify, is also very tight grain. It's very strong, unlike southern ash, which is a lot more porous and not nearly as durable as the northern white ash.
All right, well, let's see if we can get this baby going.
Okay, the cover on the floor, this carpet set.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, so I can take that out.
Oh, we got a little bit of light. Wait a second.
Whoa, wait a minute. What the hell? This says it's full. Oh, that's not good news.
Oh, wow. So.
Ouch.
Now we've got a different problem if it's...
Yeah, what the? Let me see.
Now, does it need to be checked running as opposed to
Well,
sitting still?
that's a good question because some of them, yeah, they suck all the fluid up.
So just again for reference, we're...
Yeah, you're right. You are correct. Boy, don't you ever get tired of being right. You might be absolutely correct. So go ahead and start it up. And let's see if it
Let's see if I can...
That's probably what's going on here.
Okay, we got it in the on position.
Yeah. Give it a little fuel. Put it in park. I think it starts in park or neutral. I can't remember which.
Well, neutral and park are next to each other.
Start button under the dash. Neutral safety switch only works in one position, I think. Try it. Need some gas. Might be out of gas. In addition,
We might need to splash it.
I think it's out of, well, maybe, you know, it's just taking a while to get up front. It hasn't been started in a long time.
Yeah,
Just
it's been a few
keep
weeks.
cranking it. Keep hitting the gas. Pump the gas. Pump the gas. Okay, let's go ahead and try to prime it.
Okay. Okay, it's not like we haven't done this before, but here we go again.
You got a,
It's been, I believe, 3 weeks
yeah.
for people keeping score at home. And
What happened? Just ran all the way back.
so where did you buy this racing gas which has no ethanol?
For Speed Center. It's,
Oh, Lopers, yeah.
it's about $12 a gallon, something like that.
Well, you know, when you consider the trouble you go through with the ethanol, it's well worth it.
Yeah, why would, yeah, exactly. I mean, stop being silly. I mean, you're gonna use 2 gallons,
Yeah,
or what's your time worth?
yeah, right. 2 gallons to save who knows how much time later.
Exactly. And race gas will lay in there for years.
Right.
It doesn't have anything to degrade.
So you spend a few dollars more on gas and you save yourself a carburetor rebuild.
Yeah, on and on and on.
Or a gas tank removal.
Very,
Or a fuel pump problem.
investment.
And just a reminder, let's remember, turn off the ignition when you're not running the car or starting the car because those points will burn through. A lot of you people with old classic cars already know this, but just presenting a little helpful hint there.
Let's not do
Okay.
let's not do bad jokes right now.
Okay, so racing gas, love it. See, that's 110 octane.
Yes,
Oh, nice.
guaranteed. When this thing takes off, it'll pull the front wheels off the ground. Slight exaggeration there.
Slight exaggeration.
I don't know how many gallons that is. You know, maybe one and a half.
Feels like, you know, 1 or 2 somewhere. We should save a little splash for the carburetor, I think. Okay, now with the engine carburetor primed, let's try again.
Did you prime it?
Yes. Well, that's running good. Very nice. Okay, so now the next question is,
I gotta check the level.
we probably want to let it run just a little bit, let those seals have a chance, right?
I think it should work.
Should work
much
pretty
right
quick.
away. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what you got here.
I'm guessing. This thing screws in.
It's a screw-in dipstick.
Yep, and then you take it out. Now, of course, we clear it off because the splash from
Right.
operating it will give you a false reading. So we gotta get it back in the. Yeah, this is No, it's way down.
Way down. Okay, see, it does make a difference.
See that? See the line right there?
Oh, I hadn't seen where the line is. Yeah, okay.
Okay, it's hard
So
to
we
see
need to
because
add-
it's clear.
Okay, let's add some, I guess.
Well, we'll put a quart in to begin with.
Okay, let's start with a quart.
Quart low.
I wonder if 1 quart would make the difference between it
Yeah,
rolling and
oh
not
yeah,
rolling.
sure. As soon as it drops below a certain level, tranny doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if running it, just letting it idle in neutral a little bit might help the fluid get around.
Let's just give it a go and just see if it engages. Because it's full. It may take a minute to fill up the pump.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Okay.
Wait a minute, is this part of the deal?
Yeah, that's the cover.
Oh, that's the cover. Oh, I see. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good to know. We'll put it back when the time comes.
Yep. Okay.
Wow, this thing starts nice once the fuel's primed, huh?
Oh, you know, it'll do that 100 times.
Wow.
If it's really tuned properly and you got good fuel, it'll just start. This car has almost never had a problem starting, and even with crappy gas.
Wow, it felt. Oh, it moved.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa, I felt movement.
Yeah. Next question is going to be brakes. You got forward and reverse motion.
Yep. Yay!
Hey, that's awesome.
Well, brakes pedal is.
Brake pedal feels good?
Yeah, let me. We got any room behind me? I can't tell.
Let me tell you. Hang on. You've got 1 foot, and that's all. Okay.
That's all it was.
It just needed some fluid.
It was a quart low.
The dry seal had made us a quart
I
low.
spoke to the Tom at Napa, who knows just about everything you need to know.
We love Tom at Napa.
Yes.
Okay.
Amazing guy, and he claims the
Dextron
Dextron
6, huh?
is the correct application for this
Year of Buick. It's a GM requirement. Dextron, I think he's even a name owned by General Motors.
And so it was a
So
little bit difficult to
STP.
find, but he's Dextron 6
Okay.
is what's recommended in this vintage of General Motors transmission. Probably everything subsequent.
All right, well that's really good. This
Up
happens
to
to
a
be an
certain year.
STP brand. Okay, so we're going to clean up a little bit.
Yep.
Get that oil wiped up. Get some
Yep.
get some landing room space here.
Yep.
See what we can do next. Now compared to the Woodie that we just added fluid to,
Right.
here's a DynaFlow transmission that is kind of the same era, but clearly just a little bit newer because based on our personal experience, that dipstick tube is facing forward and would not come up through the floor in this case, would it?
No, it would come up just beyond the firewall, so you had a lot easier access to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a lot of carping and complaining and whining about the fact that to access it was, well, you can see where it was, and
Yeah.
here's your firewall. So
Yeah.
obviously this is a lot more intelligent place to put it.
Mhm.
This transmission was around for a long time.
Yeah.
It was used up into the 60s.
Right.
So, and there are people who love them, there are people who hate them, and there are people who don't understand them, but mostly the ones that hate it are the ones that don't understand it. There's a coincidence there I'm not going to explain.
I was wondering where you're going to
But
go with that.
you know, a transmission is not going to be in service for that many years if it's bad. That's
Yeah.
just silly. What the complaint was, it doesn't shift in a strict sense like another type of transmission would, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
You don't physically feel it shift because it's a constant drive type of system, and it's very complex. I'm not going to bother trying to explain it here, but
Yeah.
the point is that you don't hear any shifting. You're not aware of any jolting in the car, and it does take a certain amount of the power from the engine in order to accomplish that. But you got to remember again the type of people that drove these cars. They didn't have their foot through the floor trying to go faster. They were driving around town. The idea that it didn't shift was actually a bonus as far as they were concerned.
It was a novelty even, I would say.
It was a real novelty because some of the other transmissions that were in common use,
Yeah.
you could definitely hear them shift, and it was kind of jerky.
Right.
This one, and it got better as it got further on in time, and I think they ever actually used them right up until the 60s.
Yeah.
But it's a really good transmission. The downside is that the people that restore these and rebuild them, there are not a whole lot of those guys out there. There are still a number of them that still do it, fortunately, because of the number of cars. Remember, the Buick Club, as a single standalone club, is the biggest car club in the world.
Right.
It has the most people in it, and so they have several companies that do nothing but manufacture and distribute parts for old Buicks. So that tells you something. Much like the Ford people have a tremendous amount of support and parts that they can look to keep these cars running. But this is a good transmission for what it was supposed to do.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
well, if it stayed in production for 15 years or more, it was clearly a success.
Sure. I mean, and the thing about DynaFlows you have to understand is they're evolving. They're just not evolving in name. So, you know, I'm told, I won't get into the mechanics of it, but that the transmission was made more sophisticated as it went along.
Sure.
So that the complaints that were coming into Buick were voiced, and then they reacted to it. And they said, let's go back into this, see if we can make it work a little better. Sure. There was a time when Cadillacs got these transmissions because the hydromatic plant that made the Cadillac transmissions actually burned down.
Oh,
and instead of just stopping production,
that was over a year, wasn't it, where they
DynaFlow
threw those in there? Yeah,
because there were sister divisions inside the same company.
Sure.
So, and it's a very, very durable transmission. I've had some of them for many, many years, and they do drain oils sometimes, like we saw in the 48.
Yeah.
But that's really due to the torque tube, not due to the transmission. Because you have a closed system coming into the back of the transmission with a torque tube, and the entire drive shaft is bathed in oil, unlike any other car. There are some other cars that use torque tubes, but for the moment, that seal is the one that leaks, and that because those are connected, the transmission loses its fluid. But I've never had one that didn't just jump right back up as soon as you put oil in it.
That's really cool.
Yep. Okay.
All
So
right.
that's the DynaFlow.